This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar, principal second violin and artistic administrator, Merwin Sue, the TSO's marketing director, Felicia Canny, and joining us by phone is the TSO's music director, Alain Trudel. And we also have a special guest right here in the studio, that is Michael Lang, returning to us from Toledo Ballet. Hello and welcome, everybody.
Hello.
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 We're talking today about a concert that's happening Friday and Saturday at the Peristyle at 8 o'clock p.m. This is really quite the spectacle, a big extravagant performance of the Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. It's not only the symphony involved, but it's also choruses from Bowling Green State University and Toledo Ballet. So a lot of stuff to look at, a lot of stuff to listen to. We're going to talk all about it today. First of all, a lot of folks probably know Carmina Burana without necessarily knowing the whole thing. You know, that first big chorus, the O Fortuna, O Fortune chorus has been used so many times in media, and it's something that will almost instantly be recognizable. Unfortunately, I can't play it because it's still under copyright, but I do have some music.
What if we hummed it?
I do have some music that will sort of evoke. This is
Thank
music.
you, Fozzie.
Yeah, that was Michael Lang, a.k.a. Fozzie Bear. I have some music that will set the scene for us. It will sort of evoke.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Wow.
It's slightly inverted.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
this is kind of close.
As good as Fozzie.
You know,
It's not as good as that.
the music.
Nothing is.
Hey, we're not even 3 minutes into the podcast, and we're already off the rails. But this
You
music,
sound surprised.
the Carl Orff version, has been heard so many times, especially in trailers, like the In a World trailer kind of
Yes.
thing. In a World, et cetera, right? Oh, here's a good part.
How did you find this? Wow.
Do you
This
just
is where Kermit comes in.
I have no idea what they're saying there, but I don't know if it's even real Latin. But it's sort of.
I think if you play the end of Beethoven 9 backwards.
Yeah, right.
That's where you got it.
Yeah.
Carl Orff is
It
dead.
says Carl is dead. Well, here's a quick little warm-up quiz, right? This is what I call the In a World quiz. Now I'm gonna go through a list of celebrities and different organizations and what have you, and you tell me which of them has actually used O Fortuna in their efforts, right? So we're just going to go through them one at a time. You say yay or nay, okay? Howard Stern. Has Howard Stern used
Yeah,
it?
he's
Oh,
used it.
absolutely.
How about Ozzy Osbourne?
I'm going to say yes.
Possibly. I do
Probably?
feel like
Yes.
this is like the heavy metal of classical music.
How about the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Oh,
Yes, they
definitely.
definitely have. Yeah.
How about
Exactly.
Flames.
Charlotte Church? Remember Charlotte
She
Church?
sang, she sang some Carmina Burana,
How about Applebee's?
but not O Fortuna.
With
I'm gonna say
like
no for
syrup.
That's a no
poured
for-
or something.
Okay, a no for Applebee's.
Just for me. I mean,
How about Jay Leno?
I could see that happening. I could.
In what way? Is this like, somebody
Zach just fell off his chair.
They've used music.
just went,
Jay Leno. Is that a yes or a no?
no.
I'm gonna go no with Jay Leno.
Okay.
But I do think yes to Applebee's. I can see like dramatic food being
Dramatic
placed on
food.
Yeah.
plates.
Fries for
so country.
days.
How about in the political arena? How about Sean Hannity?
Little editorial.
No.
Hey. It's a no. How about Rachel Maddow?
Oh, no.
See Rachel.
Sure, why not?
We're having
No.
significant
Are you keeping track,
disagreements here.
Brad?
How about The Simpsons?
I think all
Probably.
the answer is
yeah.
going to be yes
Yeah,
to all of these in one way,
And
shape, or form.
finally, how about American Horror Story?
I feel like that would be too good of a fit.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Gonna say
can't
no?
play it on the radio, how can they play it on the
Okay,
television?
here are the answers.
Yes to all.
Yes to all.
yeah.
All of them have used it. Zach wins.
Wow, did I just get 26 points?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, not only was it used by Applebee's, it's also been used by Domino's and by Hershey's Chocolate. Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien always used to play it whenever they showed a picture of Dick Cheney, right?
Really?
I can see that.
Curiously,
Yeah.
so did Sean Hannity.
Yeah, and Ozzy Osbourne used it to as his entrance music for one of his tours. So yeah,
That's good entrance music.
Yeah, and
Just like
American
the
Horror
Cavs.
Story used it like 3 times. So yeah, it was a good fit.
Are we just talking about Fortuna, or are we talking about the whole?
We're just talking about
Oh,
O Fortuna.
Fortuna.
O Fortuna. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No.
where it enters with
There's
all 20
other
type.
movements.
Well, so
So-
I'm going back to Charlotte Church.
Just give you, and Charlotte Church has done it also. She sang it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I completely can't imagine. I may have to dig up that recording, figure it out. But yeah, just giving you a little slice of the variety of organizations and media that have used O Fortuna. Here's the big finish. Yeah.
I do find when I'm talking to people and telling them that we're doing this, they're always just like, and then I will play the opening movement. Sorry, I just
Michael's
fell on top of Zach.
knocking everything
laying on
down
the
in
floor
the
off of his chair.
studio.
Get off me!
That's okay. maybe we should go back
deal
and
with it.
I-
But they're always like, oh yeah, I know that. As soon as you play
Yeah.
the first 5 seconds.
Yeah,
yeah, so it's
exactly.
definitely
So-
recognizable.
There are two things. There's the O Fortuna, which everybody recognizes, and then the music immediately thereafter, the dun 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 dun, and that's
Yeah.
what gets everybody very excited. I think.
well, that part
This
also
really
yeah.
weird interval, and it just keeps getting bigger.
Strangely, I always
people-
remember the first and the last movement. It's weird.
I was just going to say,
because they're the same.
I told somebody that, and it comes back at the end, and it was as if I had just smacked him on the face. He said, "You're kidding me! I get to hear it twice."
Wow,
2 more
exciting.
tickets sold, folks.
Yeah. Well, hey, we've got 2 performances of it, so they can see it 4
4
times. Hear it
times.
4 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so rewind. I'm going to hand the mic over to Elaine and to anybody else who wants to chime in for a minute here. Tell us, what is Carmina Burana for people who don't know? Tell us what it's all about.
It's actually quite an interesting collection of poems, and they're poems from medieval time. But what's really interesting about it, it goes from nature, like there's a section that talks about the primavera, the spring, some purity in it, and then you go into a tavern,
Ooh.
and then you have drinking songs and
No more purity.
people telling their stories, and then we talk about love, like the courting, and but they're all from that. I would say 13th century or something like
Yeah.
that, around there, and they're all parts from there. Now, what's really impressive about it is that it's scored for an immense orchestra and immense chorus with solos, and the solos. For me, what I like a lot about Carmina Burana is a little bit like in the movie director, like Eisenstein, when you have the perspective of only one person telling a story, and then having 200 people. Like there's perspective, constant perspective, it's a switch of perspective. And as a youngster, what I used to play in the ballet orchestra in Montreal, and Carmina Burana was always played as a ballet. So for me, I learned it as a ballet, with the big wheel of fortune at the beginning, and the different fortunes of life, of course, and the misfortunes. But I know it like that. So then I started conducting it, of course, later on. But there's always something missing when you're not having it as a ballet. So when the opportunity came for us to do it, the first thing we thought of is that, this has to be with the ballet. And of course, we have the incredible creativity of Michael that's putting together something amazing for it.
You're talking about Michael Lang, right?
Talk about Michael.
was shocked.
About that.
Man, I better get started.
Concerts this weekend.
How many
I hope
movements
you've
is it
done
again?
and also the juxtaposition of the music from the 20th century with poetry from the 13th century, and it's just really quite. It's not just O Fortuna, right? There's 25 movements. They're short, but at the end of it, you have a bunch of different stories, and at the end, it all wraps up like you were saying. We come back to this O Fortuna at the end. So there's something very interesting. There's the fact of the fortune wheel, like it always comes back, and it's like life a little bit. Things, there's cycles,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for me. That's it's always very very interesting to play as a work of art.
Well, you talk about spring and drinking and love. I mean, those are three things as old as humanity itself, and they seem to be all related, right? One way through the other.
True.
We are performing this on Valentine's Day. Just want to point that out to everybody.
Yeah.
Some drinking, maybe not spring, although forecast has been pretty good lately.
Yeah. It's a little bit of an instruction manual, I guess, for Valentine's Day. But let's talk about the production that Toledo Symphony and Ballet are offering. This was conceived originally back in the 1930s by Carl Orff as something not to be performed just in concert, but also to be staged, that there would be a visual element to it as well. Michael, you want to chime in about your approach to bringing it to life with the ballet dancers?
Well, dance is a bit abstract, and so it's not always obvious exactly what dance is about. It can be different to every viewer that watches it. But we kind of took this idea of this kind of human experience that kind of comes off of this original source, if you want to say. So I have a pas de deux couple who are always central to just the beginnings of the beginnings of the beginnings. And then I have four dancers that kind of branch off into humans and the whole human experience. And I think spring, you think of spring, it's like new life, new, everything just, and then there's the meadow, and for some reason that kind of made me think almost biblically of like the Garden of Eden, and just all these, But then, like you said, it goes into the tavern and the sins and the gambling and everything
all
that goes,
heck breaks loose
goes with
after
human
that.
experience. Kind of comes in, but then love, it always gets in it. It's always interesting to me that love's like the longest section of all of them. It has the most movements because I think love is that important, and so we kind of keep trying to get back to this original source idea. But even with love, the human experience of love, you have obsession and, all these different things that go with the love experience itself. Instead of just being love, we always want love, or we need love, or we want them to love me, or me to love them, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it goes through that whole journey as well. But then at the end, I think, the wheel... the medieval idea of it to me is that, don't get too comfortable on top because you'll eventually get crushed on the bottom. I like to think of it the other way, that don't worry about being crushed, because eventually you have more area of the wheel that you're not being crushed, and you'll be back on top. So we've just kind of taken that little wheel journey, and we have all these circular kind of motions that kind of depict that wheel and stuff.
Is there a real wheel going to be on stage?
I have 11 feet of space, Brad, so no, there's not.
A very small wheel.
It's going to be a tight stage. tight stage.
A hot wheel. Yeah, I
we
like
are
that.
with 200 choir members and full orchestra and all the dancers.
Yeah.
We're pretty packed up there.
So
But
you're all
we do
up
have a
on the
spit.
stage.
We do have a spit that we're
Right.
roasting one of my dancers. So
Can you talk a little bit about the costuming or what that would look like?
Well, the two central dancers, the pas de deux couple, is kind of flesh colored, so it's kind of this pure original kind of idea. And then I had Doris Piercefield, who's my costume designer, design the others, and all four of them, we've taken 4 sins from the original 7, and just kind of had the representations of that with each one. But they all kind of represent earth colors. So I've got blue and green and orange and purple and just, flowers and sun and all that kind of stuff. But they're kind of these 60s cut length dresses with these medieval sleeves. Mm-hmm. So it kind of has
really
this...
in fashion now.
It's very... it will be. Just wait.
Yeah. There's setting fashion trends, Toledo Ballet. So it's kind of a mishmash a little bit of the old and not so old.
Well, I wanted, medieval times, but the wheel keeps turning. It hasn't stopped, So that was my idea.
Little tiny wheel.
It's still... the wheel's still turning today and will be, so...
If scrunchies are now in fashion, then anything will become in fashion again.
Yes, we have tie-dye scrunchies that we're wearing.
Has Toledo Symphony ever done Carmina Burana before?
Yes.
Multiple times, but I've actually never performed it. So
Really?
I'm really
yes.
excited. Yeah.
The last time you were...
Because you did a concerto the
not
last
in
time.
it.
Yeah, twice.
What's your favorite part, Merwin?
I think I'm going to say the dolcissime.
Which part is that?
It's a soprano. The soprano is almost like obligato. There's so much driving rhythm in this piece, and it's amazing. But then all of a sudden, the rhythm stops, and it's like this glorious cadenza for the soprano.
Oh, wow. Well, you mentioned the soprano. So there are solo singers in this, right, Alain? You want to tell us how they
Actually,
fit?
Alain is doing all of the solos himself.
You'll be turning around.
Surprise!
But now we have TSO and HD. You don't even need to turn around. You can just sing to the orchestra, and and we can watch you on the big screen. Tell us, Alain, how the singers fit into the equation. Do they play different roles? They sing different parts with the chorus or solos, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, you have. It's interesting. Well, first of all, the tenor sings one area, and it's basically in falsetto, which is not his real voice, because he's basically the swan being roasted. So it's interesting because you're taking the voice of somebody and putting it so much out of reach and the higher octave that it sounds like, the animal suffering a little bit.
And that's
she
where
is.
that's where the spit comes in, right?
Hey,
Roasting
listen,
the
I
swan.
already wrote one paragraph of the review. So,
Speaking of spit, swan on a spit,
So-
yeah.
yeah. So, of course, Love is presented by the soprano. It's very, very high as well, but very much almost ethereal a little bit, and very pure and very almost, I wouldn't say unattainable, but something that is more of a vision of something than an actual experience. So that's really interesting. And the narration of most of the narration of the story is with the baritone, which is, I would say, if you're mid 19th century in Germany, a man would tell you the story kind of thing. I mean, it's kind of dated a little bit, the idea of it, except that if you go into the tavern and if you're talking about your misfortunes, you can imagine the boys a little bit doing that. So it's a little bit like that. And the baritone has a lot to say. And one thing that I think is very interesting to do is to take the singers and stage them as well. Not as an opera, not that much, but for example, when I went to see Michael Lang work with the dancers, I immediately thought, hey, you know what? That would be great if the baritone is closer to them and is giving a little bit of a comment on what we're seeing, but while singing his part, and instead of just standing somewhere and singing, right? So this is the way I want to use the singers in Carmina Burana. So that's for me. I want to use them in a way that's a little bit new, because usually they just stand there and sing their aria. But if they can be part of the story as well, that I think the public will. It's easier to understand what's going on, and it's more logical also. So that's what I'm aiming for with our soloists.
Yeah. So, Michael, have you heard about this? The singers are going to be involved also?
I'm glad I could make this meeting, so I'm writing all this down.
Meeting right
That's right.
Now, yeah, we've talked about this. I mean, it's always a little difficult to get everybody together, but yeah, I definitely think I see it the same way. It's like the soloists are kind of like a break the fourth wall narrator of this kind of idea, and so definitely including them in that way. And I have to say personally, this whole thing is so epic that the soprano to me is just such a breath of fresh air where you just kind of like take a breath and just kind of soak everything in that you've just experienced. So,
well, it's interesting that Alain characterizes her as a little bit unattainable. She's kind of set apart from the other singers that are really kind of rolling in the dirt, as it were, with everything that's going on.
And we've literally we've depicted that because Nora Light, my lead pas de deux couple dancer, I think she kind of represents that idea that you're just talking about. This
like kind of
ethereal
Apollonian.
let's pull this back together, and So,
what are your thoughts about this, Zach? I mean, has the symphony done this under your purvieue so far?
No. But this is a piece that means a lot to me. So. I used to sing, so I had the fortune to be in a wonderful choir in Boston, and we did this a couple times, and it was this weird. It's not weird. It's a very special memory, really, of being in the choir and also wanting to observe everything that's happening around me. So wanting to watch the singers. We didn't have dancers, but wanting to watch the singers and the orchestra and the other parts of the choir very carefully. I remember at rehearsal I heard the Roasted Swan piece. Now the choir only rehearses the choir parts, and there's no choir part in a roasting swan. So I heard this tenor backstage singing falsetto, and I thought, what the heck is he doing? And then when it all came together in the dress rehearsal, I was blown away.
It all made sense.
It all made sense.
Yeah.
The puzzle pieces start to fit together. There are a couple points that really stick with me. I think we're all kind of putting the soprano on a pedestal right now, but there's the Intrutina from the love section, the Dulcissime that Merwin mentioned, and both of these kind of are staged in a way that time stands still, that the music just kind of happens and nobody wants to breathe. I just remember being in a choir almost ready to cry listening to these sections, and that was so unexpected for me. The last chorus comes right after the Dulcissime, is the Ave Formosissima, and as much as there's this soprano kind of in that suspended time and space, the choir gets to sing in this wonderful major key, and the final notes are just very much at the top of your range, and I just remember gulping for air to get through these notes. And then there's this huge crash in the percussion, and we go right into Fortuna the second time. And the characteristic is so different. It goes from this very positive, very, very major to this very minor, very dissonant, amazing chorus. I just remember not being ready for it. And I don't know that I'll ever be ready to hear that transition, just because it's so drastic and almost cruel in its own way.
Well, it's very effective because it's bringing back the very familiar opening chorus, but as Michael had mentioned, in a completely different way and eliciting completely different emotions. And it's this reminder that, you are beholden to the spinning wheel of fortune.
Right.
Right? And it's very, very effective indeed. So you've got choruses from Bowling Green State University. This is really a big collaboration on part of the symphony. The choruses are kind of like the bread and butter of Carmina Burana. Felicia, you want to say something?
Oh, yes. Actually, we have about 170 chorus members from BGSU choruses, 3 of them.
That's why Michael only has 11 feet.
I was going to say that.
Actually, that is true. But we've also invited...
have you considered stacking them on top of each other?
Yes, that we have considered that, but we decided
3
not.
high.
Yeah, that might be a little bit too much.
Wall of sound.
We've also invited elementary and junior high singers from across the region, from all of the schools. Music teachers nominated their students to be a part of this chorus. So we have a treble chorus in addition to the full BGSU ensemble.
So, Michael, you actually only have 5 feet.
Yeah, your space is shrinking really fast.
I'll let you know.
That's fine. Port de Bras is beautiful. We just stand there and move our arms.
And you're missing the beautiful gestures that Michael has when he's talking.
That's all right.
So it's really a great community collaboration for this production.
A lot of people on
Could
stage.
Could this be our largest stage? I remember when we did Mahler 2, we talked about how big that orchestra was. There's certainly a choir. It sounds like this choir might be larger. We also have dancers. Could this be our largest production?
Well, for the season, perhaps?
Well, I mean, in recent memory?
I think so, in recent memory. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's just say it is.
Yep.
Nobody will know if we just say it is, right?
Felicia bringing in kids to this. Our dancers dance like a small professional company. They're amazing.
They're very impressive.
But they're kids. They are children. I mean, I have, some of them are easing into adulthood, but that was the exciting part of working on this for me, was there is so much history when you think about this. The medieval Latin poems, and then the 1800s where they were discovered, and then 1930. I mean, when you think about a German in 1930s, I mean, the volatility of that history alone is just crazy. So it was fun. We actually used the Latin poems to create the movement, and we kind of used that. And so it was it was just as fun educating them along the way of what this actually is.
Yeah, and the poems are in Latin, so the kids don't know that they're singing about getting drunk and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I was going to leave that out, Brad, but I'm really glad that Michael. I'm really glad that Michael talked a little bit about the educational component of it, because I think, for me, my first introduction to Carl Orff's music was teaching elementary music and all of the xylophones that we had. And I think one of the exercises we had used in class, everyone was just like playing the exact same rhythm with, I think, open fifths. Yeah. And it was like this driving rhythmic pulse. Plus that open interval was something that just surrounded us, and the kids were like, oh my goodness, what a neat experience that we get to create in class in elementary music.
And it was all on the recorder.
there were some recorder components to it.
You've never heard Carmina Burana until you've heard it.
Yeah, the gateway instrument to the oboe, right?
Yes.
And then finally the kazoo. But that's prior episodes. Well, we should mention Carl Orff was involved in education. His music is still used in education throughout the world. These poems are interesting because they were written by Benedictine monks, right? But they don't have any real sense of, kind of a religious aspect to them. These are monks kind of daydreaming about things that all humans, throughout history have thought about and pondered.
It always feels like there's a little bit of scandal there to that, though. It's that you have these monks who are writing about, in some ways, wine, women, and song. But I can only imagine that the discovery of these poems would have raised some eyebrows. And then the fact that Orff decides to set music to those poems is kind of outstanding, right?
Yeah, well, it works wonderfully. Before you have to go, Elaine, I wonder if we can talk a little bit about the piece that you have as a prelude to Carmina Burana. This is by the Canadian composer Claude Vivier, called Orion. Really interesting tone poem with elements of like gamelan and all kinds of ethereal music, and it's something that I had not heard before researching for this concert, but it's really quite a fantastic piece, and I think that it parlays perfectly into what follows it in this concert. Can you tell us about Claude Vivier and this piece in particular?
Oh, absolutely. Claude Vivier, well, first of all, it's a great opportunity for me to bring one of my fellow, artists, fellow creator from Canada. I mean, he's passed away from a very, very long time now, in 1983. But his music lives on, and to introduce our public to that, and our orchestra also, because I haven't played any Vivier, is a real privilege, because he's such a great musician, incredible composer, one of the greatest composers of the 20th century. It's just he's not as well known as some of them. He had a shorter life. He had a very, very dramatic life also. But this piece, he's always very obsessed by death as well. And Orion is part of that as well. He wrote an opera called Copernicus, and Claude Vivier was very, not only did he invent his music, but he also invented a language that it was singing, so they all invented words and invented the syllables.
The opera was about Copernicus, right?
Yeah, Copernicus, yeah. But then he goes into something completely, something different in almost right from the beginning. But he comes back to Copernicus, but it's basically an opera on the ritual of death. And for the beginning of Orion, which is a constellation, of course, but at the same time, it's he uses the trumpet as the trumpet of the Last Judgment. It's very often used as a precursor of the final moment, either a precursor of a first moment, like a fanfare or a last moment. So it starts with a trumpet solo, and that's what the trumpet solo represents in this. And for Vivier, it's like he also is this trumpet, it's him personally. He's just standing there, and things evolve around him. It moves from all kinds of different sounds and everything, but at the end, you still remain in the same place. You are still, people go around, and what's interesting is that it talks a lot about, dictators and all kinds of different events that can happen in life, which also is interesting with the time that Carmina Burana was created. And yet humans, we stay at the same place. And that also has a nice, interesting correlation with the fact the human factor of Carmina Burana, if you take it as a spectator, also as a witness of what's happening in Carmina Burana. So I thought there was really a good link between the two, as you mentioned. And this is universe. You were talking about Gamelan. He wrote a lot of music from Ballet, and it was a movement that was very big in Quebec. Same thing with José Evangelista, another great composer from here. Very, very influenced by Balinese music. Of course, written in a very sophisticated European style of orchestration. So now people are in for a treat. It's really a special piece. It's dark music, but I think after that, it's Carmina Burana is so epic that we can take a little bit of Vivier at the beginning of it.
Yeah, I think that it'll be a great discovery for Toledo Symphony audiences.
Yeah.
Well, Alain, I know that you have to go. You're on a busy schedule, but we're going to continue with the podcast version, including a little spinning wheel quiz that I've set up for our contestants here in the studio. But Alain Trudel conducting the concert this weekend. It's Friday and Saturday at the Peristyle at 8 p.m. The famous Carmina Burana, featuring the Toledo Symphony as well as Toledo Ballet, soloists, and a huge, huge chorus from Bowling Green State University. More information about the concert at toledosymphony.com or through their box office phone number, which is 419-246-8000. Thanks for joining us, Alain.
Thank you.
Well, let's continue now with the podcast version of our program today, talking about Carmina Burana, which is all about the wheel of fate and fortune. We've talked about that famous opening chorus, which returns at the end, and how it's been used so many different times. I have a bit of a quiz for you. It's actually sort of a complicated quiz, but we've done this kind of thing before, right? You're going to draw slips of paper out of a little box that I've set up there for you. You've got a list of authors, and on the paper are various quotes about fate. So this is a mix and match game. You have to match the author to the quote. Okay.
Failing.
So, and this is for everybody to play. One person at a time will draw, but everybody can write down on their papers who they think wrote it, right? So let's spin the wheel and see what you get. We'll start with you, Michael.
Lose a turn. Crap.
It's your turn. Do not pass go, right? Pick one out of there and read it off for us.
No one saves us but ourselves. We ourselves must walk the path. I know that one right away.
Okay, so you have to decide who that is.
Do I say?
Do we say it or we write
No,
it down?
you don't have to say it. No,
but that's number one that we're writing on here.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Can you read it again?
No one saves us but ourselves. We ourselves must walk the path.
Okay, that's number one.
Hey, Felicia, what did he write down?
Who's doing number two? Unless Michael's going to read them all. Okay, Zach. What'd you get there, Zach?
Fate is like a strange and popular restaurant filled with odd little waiters who bring you things that you never asked for and don't always like.
I hate when that happens.
That sounds like something I would say.
One thing we didn't do was tell folks who all the authors are. Let me just read off who the authors
it's quite
are.
a list.
Right? We have Lemony Snicket, somebody who, is on minds of Toledo Symphony audiences this season. In fact, we're going to rebroadcast the concert of Lemony Snicket's The Composer is Dead tomorrow evening, as a matter of fact, here on FM 91. Little plug for the program. There's Marcus Aurelius, former emperor of Rome. There's Plutarch, the famous writer. There's Stephen Hawking, Beethoven, Shakespeare, Goethe, the Buddha, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Dante Alighieri. So that would be quite a party to get all of them in the same room.
I just love the idea of having Lemony Snicket and Dante on the same list, and the Buddha.
They seem like they all go together, at least, if nothing else, in this quiz, right? Let's roll the dice. Get another one.
That's a dice roll?
We may not get through all of these.
Sorry, did you need me to read that again?
I would like for you to read it
Yeah.
again.
Oh, okay. So we'll spin that again. Yeah.
Read yours again.
Fate is like a strange and popular restaurant filled with odd little waiters who bring you things that you never asked for and don't always like.
That was good. Was that your Stephen Hawking impression or Beethoven?
That was his Buddha.
I can't
That's
believe you
good.
have to ask.
His voice
Well,
is higher than I thought it would be.
Let's roll it.
Mine or Buddha's?
Buddha.
Yeah, okay.
Your
Okay.
impression of Buddha.
Pass it over to Felicia there. We'll let her pick one now.
Okay. Fate leads him who follows it and drags him who resists.
Okay. Fate leads him who follows it and drags him who resists. I think there's supposed to be resists. Okay, Merwin.
Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen.
Oh, nice quote.
Thanks, I made
Okay.
it myself.
Yeah, very good. Merwin, I forgot to put your name on this list, but as we know, you are a genius, right? Harkening back to our astrology episode.
Should I?
You got to pass it back down. Well, Felicia, you can go.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. We've got 10, so there's plenty to go. You can't put one back. Just take one. There you go.
It is the strange fate of man that even in the greatest of evils, the fear of the worst continues to haunt him.
Well, that's not depressing at all. Okay. It is the strange fate of man that even in the greatest of evils, the fear of the worst continues to haunt him. Hey, that's what it's all about. Wait, don't pick until I spin the wheel. Okay, now you can pick. It's okay.
Now it really feels like high school.
What'd you get, Michael?
Our fate cannot be taken from us. It is a gift.
Ah. Fate is a gift. Okay. Next victim.
I've noticed that even those who assert that everything is predetermined and that we can't change nothing about it, is it supposed to say nothing or anything?
It's okay. First of all, it's predestined, not predetermined, right?
I'm not really. I can't read this.
And that we can change nothing about it. Okay.
Okay.
Here, let me read it.
Okay.
Did
you just take this away from me?
This really is like high school.
Yeah, right.
Am I getting detention?
Yeah.
No,
Somebody
this is like a group
attention.
project where
Okay, try it again.
Oh,
Take two.
now I have a
Go
second
ahead.
chance. Oh no, the nerves are killing me.
We're all about second chances.
I have noticed that even those who assert that everything is predestined and that we can change nothing about it still look both ways before they cross the street.
Oh, that's a good quote.
Yeah.
Right?
Sounded almost as good as when you read it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I read it, did I? We're almost there.
Are we on 7?
Yeah. 3 more to go.
And there's
Who's
only
up
one
next?
for each. Is that the way this works? Because
I
I'm
think so.
Yeah, there's only one for each. That would be too complicated if I put in fake quotes or fake
I'm not doing well. All right.
authors.
at least you have answers.
Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart.
Aw.
You sounded so frustrated.
Accept
Well,
the
because
things.
I'm thinking some of these people were influenced by others that are on this list, so you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So it could be tricky,
Yeah.
right?
so-
To try and figure out who gets it. I don't know if anybody's still listening at this point, but it's kind of fun. It's
Oh,
fun
the
for
last
us.
I
No,
have
it's
one.
not. No, we have 2 more.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
I
Felicia's
almost
answers
hit
are all
myself in
wrong.
the face with this. It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves.
that one.
Everybody should
we
get
in-
that one.
I don't know.
What number are we on? 8?
9.
9? Oh, crap.
Super spin
I was going to say.
for the last one. Okay, Merwin, it's up to you.
I recognize this one. This is by Pat Sajak.
And Vanna.
Not Vanna?
I will take fate by the throat. It shall not wholly overcome me.
Yeah, good one for you, Merwin. Okay.
I'm sorry. Explain that.
I don't mean
All
the
right.
quote. I mean the author of the quote. Okay. So, has everybody got their numbers? I'm going to go
No.
through
Yes.
and I'm going to
This
tell
is
you
really bad.
Enjoying this.
what
I
they
use
were.
numbers next to the numbers, so now I'm just confusing myself.
Okay, number 1. This is the one that Michael says he got.
Well,
No
like you
one
said-
saves us but ourselves. We must ourselves walk the path. That was the Buddha.
Yeah, Buddha.
Did you get it right,
Shakyamuni
Michael?
or Sodai? I don't. It's like
Yep. That was
laughing
the
Buddha,
Buddha.
or original Buddha. We're
The
all
second
Buddha,
one.
really.
Fate is like a strange, unpopular restaurant filled with odd little waiters who bring you things you never asked
Zach
for
Vassar.
and you don't always like.
Wow.
So,
Do we all know who that was?
Lemony Snicket.
Lemony
That
Snicket.
was
Sounds
Lemony
like it.
Snicket, yeah.
Yay.
That's probably
None of
all
us
I
got 0.
Yeah, I got 2 so far.
Number 3, fate leads
where it
him who
ends.
follows it and drags him who resists. That was
Dante?
the great writer Plutarch.
Yes.
I got that right.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
that makes this one Dante.
Good one. Okay. I have noticed that even those who assert that everything is predestined and that we can change nothing about it still look both ways before
That's
they
not
cross
No,
the
that's
street.
not it.
That's not number 4.
Number 4
Oh,
was
no,
the one
yeah,
about
you're
making
right.
a decision.
Inspiring.
Is,
Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. Who was that? Another writer.
Goethe?
A writer with 3 names.
Ralph?
Waldo Emerson?
Waldo Emerson?
Very good. Ralph
Yeah, I'll
Waldo
fill it in
Emerson.
right now.
Number 5. It is the strange fate of man that even in the greatest of evils, the fear of the worst continues to haunt him. This music is great for this.
I had Goethe, but I think I'm wrong.
No, you're right. Goethe.
Yay! I had Buddha for the next one, so I'm just going to put X there.
Number 6. Our fate cannot be taken from us. It is a gift. Somebody said his name earlier. That was Dante.
Dante?
No.
That was Dante. Not Fozzie Bear. Dante Alighieri, author of the famous Divine Comedy. Number 7. This is the one I tried to do before. I have noticed that even those who assert that everything is predestined and that we can change nothing about it still look both ways before they cross the street.
Stephen Hawking?
That is Stephen Hawking. Oh, you guys are actually pretty good at this.
No one else would have a car.
That's actually how I narrowed it down to.
Oh, right. Didn't think of that.
I was like, okay, streets. When
Yeah.
was that
Buddha had a
invented?
VW.
They had the Flintstones car where they could run it with their feet. Okay, on number 8. Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart.
So I had Marcus Aurelius for this.
That is right. Marcus Aurelius. So we're narrowing it down now. Only 2 left. Number 9. It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves.
Vanna White.
Shakespeare? Beethoven?
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare?
No, that was Shakespeare. And the final one,
Theodore.
which
Of course.
Merwin got, I will take fate by the throat, it shall not wholly overcome me.
Beethoven.
That was, of course, Ludwig van Beethoven.
Oh, whoa. I thought it was the dog.
You thought what?
I thought it was the dog.
Yeah.
Beethoven the dog. Yeah. Who was talking about Beethoven the dog before when we had...
Pretty sure it was Merwin.
I'm pretty sure it was Merwin.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, somebody get
it was
it.
the
mayor.
the mayor,
mayor.
conversation, but I do think it was your joke.
I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
anybody recognized my tribute to the mayor today, so.
Your tribute to the mayor? Oh, the Beatles?
Oh.
See, I vexed out
Oh, yeah.
McCartney.
Now, what
didn't even-
you
didn't-
lost
that was
me.
part of
I don't think our listeners could have
Did,
figured that one out.
Okay. Hang on a second. What does this have to do with Carmina Burana?
Nothing at all.
it's a meta tribute to
Excellent.
a previous
Symphony Lab.
episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I got 4 right.
Well, that was fun. You got 4 right. How many did you get right, Merwin?
I got 6.
How many did you get, Michael?
I got 4 as well, I think. Yeah, 4. Yeah, I got Shakespeare,
That's like a
Buddha,
D.
Beethoven, and
Yeah.
Plutarch. Yeah.
How about you, Zach?
I'm bringing up the rear. I got 3.
Wow. So the
Yeah.
winner is Merwin.
Which is
He's
fitting,
a
because didn't he have like
genius.
a literature degree? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we know, Merwin is a genius. We've heard it
I
all
miss-
before. Yeah.
We'll bring Janet back. I want to hear
The
it again.
6 is still a D. Or,
It's
yeah.
a pretty low grade. Yeah.
6 out of 10.
We got F's.
Says the ex-teacher over there.
Yeah. Right.
I graded people with S's and E's. So
What does that mean?
like satisfactory and excellence. So
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And then what
That's
came
where it
below
all went wrong.
satisfactory? Like unsatisfactory or
maybe
average, unexcellent, not
there were only
excellent?
3 choices.
I think I would have said
Suck.
sad and excellent. That's a little bit better.
Sad with an exclamation point. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least we had a little bit more fun there in the podcast version of the episode today. The concert is this weekend. It's Friday and Saturday at the Peristyle at 8 o'clock p.m. Soloists, the combined choruses from Bowling Green State University, Toledo Ballet performing on stage with the Toledo Symphony. All of it conducted by Alain Trudel, Carl Orff's Carmina Burana, preceded by Claude Vivier's Orion, which we talked about earlier. Wonderful concert. More information at ToledoSymphony.com, or you can call up the box office at 419-246-8000. This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab, and you can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at ToledoSymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My thanks to Zach Vassar, Merwin Sue, Felicia Canny, Michael Lang, and Alain Trudel. I'm Brad Cresswell, and you've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.